And welcome back, everybody. Today we have a special guest, Tris Munsick. Tris, thanks for coming by, man.
Good to see you, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks. No, this is, we were just kind of shooting the crap before, but this is, now we're official. We're live now.
All right. Time to get nervous.
Is this, I forgot to ask you, is this your first podcast? Have you been on a podcast before?
I've done a few, yeah. I did Devin Riley's Blazing Trails podcast last week, actually, 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
And then I did Mackenzie Holmberg's Endorse podcast out of Billings.
Okay.
That might be it. I think that's probably it.
You're kind of on the run here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, I'm loving the podcast craze, man. It's what gets me through life anymore, I feel like right now. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
No, thank you. Yeah, and we love Devin's. I think Devin does a good job and went to school with him. So yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, let's kind of start with this, Tris. You're originally from Sheridan. You kind of grew up with Charlie over there, so maybe you've got some good Charlie stories. I don't know.
Yeah. We've known each other since
kindergarten,
probably, or first grade.
Yeah.
So our kindergarten classes were split, morning and afternoon. I can't remember if we were in kindergarten together or first grade, so it was one of the two.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I grew up on the Little Goose Ranch, south of Bighorn, right along the face. My dad managed for quite a while for Meredith, and then we left the ranch when I was about middle school age, and my folks bought a little place over outside of Dayton. So I went to middle school and high school over in Dayton, Tongue River. It's kind of a scarring thing going from a Bighorn Ram to a Tongue River Eagle.
Yep.
In middle school.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
We survived though. So, yep. Yeah. I moved out after high school, and I kind of lived all over the place for about 10 years, and then I've been back a few years now, and it's home, man. I love it.
I was gonna say, just you're on the face there. I mean, that is like the Bighorn experience, Bighorn Mountain experience right there.
Yeah, man. Little Goose Canyon, it's a special place for sure. Definitely is to me,
Yeah. Is there any memories that you cherish, growing up that, you said you left for about 10 years and you came back, were there some memories where you're like, I need to go back home?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, leaving here, I lived in Montana for a while, which was great. And then Texas and kind of all over Wyoming. And, especially times when you're living in the city, and you really do appreciate where you come from and the wide open spaces around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a special thing, and you don't really realize how much you need, or personally, how much you need space until you don't have any.
Right.
And man, if you kind of feel like you're trapped in the old concrete jungle a little bit. So
yeah.
I mean, growing up on the ranch was great, man. My brothers and I just kind of had the run of the place, and we pretty much considered it to be ours,
Sure.
As little kids. And we were, Little Goose Creek ran right beneath my house, and my folks would just be like, well, whatever you have to do, just be outside and not in our line of sight. So we'd be down trying to, catch fish or helping my dad move cows or, whatever. I mean, we were just kind of little hooligans growing up, and it's I wouldn't trade it for anything, for sure.
Yeah. Kind of hard to get in trouble when, no one's around.
No one's there. Yeah, just come back by dark.
Yep.
Like my mom put this big old cast iron bell up on a telephone pole
Ring
next
you
to
guys
the house.
in.
So yeah, that was our call, and you could hear that sucker from a long ways away. We'd be down, doing something we weren't supposed to, and you hear that dinging in the background, and you're time to head for home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
where'd you head off first? Did you because you went away, but were you going to school or what?
Yeah, man, I went up to college in Bozeman at Montana State. Spent a good chunk of time up there, which was fun. And we played a lot of music up there and did a lot of hunting and fishing and everything that Bozeman's great for. And then I moved over to Thermopolis for a little while. I was training horses for Bill Smith and the Wild Quarter Horse outfit over there. And then I really wanted to move to Austin. Was my my big gold buckle dreams to play music for a living, and turns out some other people have that idea also.
No.
So it was great, man. Were you good, Charlie? All right, right on. I was moved down there, not a dollar to my name, and loaded up the guitar in the saddle, and kind of just drifted around Texas for a while. Found a job stacking salt blocks at a feed store, Callahan's feed store outside of Austin, which is awesome. Those guys are still kind of like family. And so I'd be playing nights, trying to get things going around town, and, get to work about 4 o'clock to stack hay and get our work done before it got too hot, And, man, it was, looking back on it, it was awesome. You're making minimum wage and just barely squeaking by, but man, you're doing all sorts of cool stuff, and you sure learn a lot. I learned a lot about, playing solo shows and doing singer-songwriter stuff, and you're listening out there, with some of the best in the world for playing live music, and you can soak it up and really start to learn what your craft is,
Sure.
And I thought that was, that was an awesome thing for me is kind of being forced. I couldn't really afford a band most of the time down there to pay anybody.
Right.
And people down there want to hear original music, man. They want to hear your own songs. So that was awesome for me. I mean, just being like, okay, well, it's just you and your guitar up there. See what you can do. Let's do this. And I learned a ton. It was pretty neat. And then I got a job working for Lyle Lovett over in Houston, and I lived there for a while. I was starting his 2-year-old colts for him, and kind of evolved to helping him on the road as kind of like a production assistant, sort of.
Okay.
So which was also great. I learned from the bottom up in Austin, and then you kind of learn from the top down a little bit working for Lyle, which was super cool, man. He took me under his wing and really showed me a lot about the music business and what it means to, to take care of your fans and to treat people, the right way all the time. And I mean, just some real cool life lessons that have stuck with me ever since.
Right.
But then you do kind of get missing the North Country, and I kind of circled back. I lived in Laramie for a while and went back to school and got an econ degree.
Nice.
Yeah, and then kind of just kept moseying back north to Sheridan, and here we are.
Found your way back home.
Yeah, man.
I want to jump back to that. I never knew that about your career and kind of that early days. So everyone kind of knows your dad, is a big musician. Ian's a big musician. The family's, musically, gifted, or just that's, you guys are into it.
So we do. Yeah.
So you guys, so you had that growing up, but then you didn't. It kind of was later on that you're like, I'm going to go to Austin and I'm going to go do this.
Yeah, man. We did. I'm sure a lot of folks in Sheridan, we're kind of raised here and stuff. So we got a pretty long history around these parts. But my dad's was a rancher, and later on he was a teacher, and he's been a musician, a lifelong musician. He's a great songwriter. He can play anything that makes noise, pretty much, man. And he and my mom really, wanted to. I'm not sure they wanted us to do it for a living, ever, but they wanted to expose us to music at a really young age, and just so we had the option. And I'm sure glad they did. We listened to everything from, AC/DC to Beethoven to whatever, Eminem to Ian Tyson to Merle Haggard, Hank Williams, right? Linda Ronstadt. We really have them to thank for exposing us to all these different types of music and what music has to offer from a kind of a more full perspective, And I think all of us, I have 2 younger brothers, Sam and Ian, both of whom play really well and write songs, and we grew up playing together. My dad had a band called the Powder River Boys, and they're full-on dance country band, man. Then they'd play, a lot around these parts, and we kind of grew up being little kids, watching from backstage and getting to see those guys make people happy playing music.
Yeah.
So
was that kind of your first experience? Did you guys get to play with him here, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. He'd let us get up. I'd come and set in, play drums for, half a set or something. We'd get up and sing a couple songs. Sam and I would, and then later when Ian got old enough, he would too. And that was definitely my first. I mean, some of my earliest memories in general are at the Sheridan Inn. Sleeping on coats behind the stage while my dad, finished playing this buckaroo ball dances. So, I mean, it really was. It's how we grew up, and that's absolutely what got us all started in music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure.
So, what was the moment though where you're like, "I'm going to Austin. I'm going to do this"?
So I always kind of had bands in high school and stuff, and some local guys around that are still around here, and we, I always have loved having bands and making music with different people and stuff. And going up to Bozeman, we had a little college band. We'd play around the country bars around Bozeman and stuff, and play dances for a bunch. Really, we'd have a house gig at the Bacchus Pub on a Monday night or whatever, and all your moron buddies had come down and any excuse, you know. So, I think after that, I always knew that I kind of wanted to maybe, I wasn't always sure that I wanted to do it for a living, but I definitely wanted to ride the train as far as it would take me, and see what it would be like to actually put your, everything into it, and really go for it, and I think that was probably the moment I remember one time in high school, we our first paying gig was it was an election year. It was our 8th grade inaugural ball. We had used to have dances instead of riots in those days. and we our 8th grade class hosted this inaugural ball. And we got to open. They had my dad come and play with his band, and it was in the Tongue River Middle School gym. And they had our band open up for it, and I think we made $50 or something, which was pretty stinking awesome, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
13 years old or something, and I remember loving that. It was awesome, We had our matching shirts. Our band was called Hellafino, one word. We were pretty hot stuff, we thought.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Our buddy's mom embroidered our band name on our nasty burnt orange shirts that we had. They're awesome. Good days, man.
We'll have to try and find some pictures of that.
Dude, yeah. I bet I'll send them to you. I bet we can dig one out of the vaults for sure.
That's awesome.
Everybody has braces on and stuff.
Oh yeah. Full 8th grade. Yep. Junior high.
For sure, man.
That's awesome. So that was your first paid gig, 8th grade.
Yep.
But like you said, your dad kind of introduced you pretty early on, and then when you're at Bozeman, that was kind of when you're like, I kind of like this. This is kind of
this is fun.
Yeah.
People come down here to listen to us, and they're in a good mood, having fun. We can have an excuse not to be home reading our OChem homework. Let's do this.
Yeah. That's awesome. What is some advice? Because you were like, I'm going to go to Austin. I'm going to do it. And then you were, like you said, working minimum wage, and then you were playing solo gigs. And then it took a while, and then you kind of flipped it, like you said. Then you were traveling with somebody. What's advice to somebody that wants to make it as a musician? And I don't know, kind of your words of hey, you might have to grind it out for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, man, it's it's definitely a tough world to get ahead in. I think my biggest piece of advice would just be to make sure you're in it for the right reasons, man, and make sure that you love doing it and you love playing music, because if you decide it's going to be your job, then it's going to become a job, man. It's an awesome job for us. I love it, right? But there's parts of it that I definitely don't like, And I would say, man, if you didn't really love what you're doing, there's easier ways to go broke. You know, I mean, like, do something else, man. It's the beautiful thing about music is you can play and, you know, you can enjoy music in such a huge range of ways, right? You can be somebody who loves listening to the top 40 radio stations, all the way to, you know, in-depth, like, huge music fans, to being able to dabble and play guitar a little bit, to freaking being Eric Clapton, you know? I mean, like, it's just the ways that you can enjoy music. You don't necessarily have to be doing it for a living, is what I'm trying to say, right? So it's like, man, if you have really love doing it, I would just, that's what I would say, is just make sure it's what you want to do, man. And don't be too proud. That's a huge one. I mean, you're gonna get kicked a couple times, you know, for sure. And if you're lucky enough to have people around you who are honest and giving you honest feedback, that's a huge thing too. And if you be able to take some criticism and grow and keep an open mind, man, and it's an easy thing to say sitting here on the couch, you know.
Sure.
But when somebody's looking at you telling you that your songs are, you know, could be use work or whatever, I mean, it's the most personal thing you can do, in my opinion, playing music for somebody and singing your own song to somebody. And I feel like being able to handle criticism well and turn it into, you know, a useful experience is huge. And
Sure.
That's hard for anyone to do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like you said, as a musician, and like if it's your own song, I mean, it's super personal, you know, and that's, you got to be able to do that. Do you have one of those particular stories or a situation where you got criticized but you look at that moment like, hey, that was really good for me or the band, and you know, you guys turned it into a positive? Off the top of your head?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I guess, so when I got back from Texas, right, we kind of formed this band, the Innocence Band, and that was a while ago. Now we've been kind of dabbling when I was still down there, and I'd go up north in the summers and we'd play some, but we decided to be real serious about it when I moved back up north, and I think you know, man, especially starting out, right? It's like, it doesn't start out like you're just happy that you can make noise at the beginning, kinda, you know? I mean, you're not tight. It's a good group of musicians, and some of the, you know, players have kind of changed over the years, as you do, you know, when people's lives have kind of taken different paths. But man, it's been one growing experience into the next, really. I would say there's a couple on a personal level. You know, I always send, like, if we have a new song or I'm working on something, or, you know, need some honest advice. I'm pretty lucky because I have two younger brothers and my dad who are not at all scared to hurt your feelings.
Sure.
You know, so, which is awesome, and I appreciate it. And they send stuff. We all do, right? We can send stuff to my dad, and if it sucks, he's going to tell you it sucks.
Right.
But he's going to tell you why he thinks, you know, it does, and like what you should do to improve it or whatever. So we've always been, I mean, since we were little kids, and he was, you know, we were crying, and he was physically reaching over and putting our fingers on the right frets, you know, and stuff. We've been able to handle criticism, I think, pretty well, just because we grew up, you know, being like, it's not a personal thing, right? I mean, there's a little healthy competitive kind of edge between everybody, and
sure,
and that's good. We're super lucky in that regard. And then even, you know, when I was working for Lyle, I mean, he's just everything he does is so professional and is for the long run. He doesn't take shortcuts. You know, he treats people right. He, you know, he treats his band right. And like those kind of things were just such huge lessons to me. I remember we'd gone in the studio and recorded a couple songs back in the day, and I had just got the mix back, and I was pretty pumped about it and stuff. And I didn't really bug Lyle with that stuff very much, but I asked him in the truck one time. We were going to Fort Worth, and I was like, hey, you know, it was back when people had CDs and CD players in vehicles, and threw that demo tape in the truck, and I was all excited about it, you know. And he's like, man, I wouldn't I wouldn't release that to anyone else.
Oh man.
And I was like, oh man, really? How come? And he's like, well, your singing's off on parts of it. It seems like it's a good like rough draft of what you're actually wanting to get done. But I would shelve those babies and go back and see if you can do a better job recording them and stuff, you know.
Right.
And we had, we were just learning how to write songs, just learning how to play songs, just learning how to be in the studio and record, which is its own beast, right? Definitely. I mean, yeah, Charlie knows, right?
Yeah.
We're amateurs, right? And just pretty green and just trying to get things right. And, I thought it was good at the time. And I'm so glad that somebody was like, it's okay. Is that what you want to put out to other people? Like, no, turns out.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah. You felt confident to share it with him. And then, he obviously kind of like put you down a little, but you got to have that confidence of like, hey, I'm going to play this for him and see what he thinks.
For sure, man. That is definitely, I agree. That's a part of it too. You got to have the confidence to be in yourself and in the people around you. If you have a band, to get on stage and play in front of an audience, whether it's 2 people or whether it's, 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. And honest, to me anymore, really the hometown shows is the only, the most nervous I get anymore is just being home and being with people that you grew up with and your family out there watching and stuff, and you're like, oh shit, hope we do a good job today. It's definitely easier when you're out there in front of a bunch of strangers.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah.
Your dad could come up on the stage and be like, all right, you're done.
Yeah. All right. Time to cut it off.
Right. Talk a little bit about, because you talked about your first time, recording something and shared it with somebody. Walk us through writing a song with your band or just yourself, kind of the process of coming up with a new song or a new idea.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I would like to say that I'm a really disciplined writer, but I would be lying if I did to you if I did say that. It seems like I kind of go on streaks, and it's like I'll get like real into it for a while and be like disciplined, be like get up in the morning, work on your songs, work on them later in the evening when you can start singing better and like, and if I'm in the right frame of mind, it seems to come a lot easier to me. A lot of times I kind of have to be by myself, and I have to have something enough going on where you're not just kind of stuck, but also like kind of like mind, like, stuff that you can just let your mind wander a little bit.
Right.
The most productive I ever was when I was riding Colts down south. And I'd be, on however many a day, all day, 12 hours, 10-hour days, and you're in the round pen a lot, and you're just kind of, you're busy, but I'd let your mind kind of wander, and I'd have ideas, and I have my cell phone, and I got bucked off a handful of times actually for getting my cell phone out and putting my little voice memos in my cell phone and not paying it, letting my mind wander a little too much maybe, and you get piled on your head and you remember what you were doing in the first place. But that's how it usually, to me, it just kind of starts with an idea. Driving a lot of times, I'll come up with an idea and I'll just throw it on the old voice memo, as much as I can think of. And then I'll go back later and try to turn it into a song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
For sure.
I was just about to ask, and what you're trying to describe is like the busy work. Like you're busy and you're doing something, but like you said, your mind can kind of have these thoughts and like driving. Yeah. Anytime I'm doing long trips, that happens all the time where I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea. But
for sure. Yeah.
So you just said, I was just about to ask, you go back to those notes. Do you have one off the top that was kind of like funny that you're just like, what the hell was I thinking?
Oh man. I just cleaned my phone off actually a couple weeks ago, and I had some from, hotel rooms and stuff, and some that I couldn't even really tell what my idea was in the first place. Some were pretty stupid. Some of them, I had one song. Oh, this is so dumb. But turns out there's been a lot of country songs that have been written already. And my buddy Chancey Williams took me out back of the show one day, and he's like, "Hey man, we got a couple new songs that he and his producer Trent Willman is a Nashville artist and songwriter and producer. Those guys had been writing some songs, and so they had a couple songs demoed or whatever, and he had written this song, or maybe just Trent had, I forget exactly, but called "The Singer." And you guys, if you're listening, this is I'll come clean at the end of the story. But they wrote this song called "The Singer," man, and it was a good song. It's like about like kind of, did you see the movie Crazy Heart?
Yeah.
It's kind of about like the troubadour guy, and this girl, she always loved the singer, but she couldn't live the song or whatever, right? So she loved him, but she didn't like everything that came with him, basically. And he showed me a song. It was a great song. I loved it. Went home 6 months later. I forgot that he had even told me. Showed me the song, and I wrote this awesome song that came to me super naturally called "The Singer." I was like, oh man! And like the line itself was like, dude, she always loved the singer. She just couldn't live the song. And like somebody needs to give me an award for this. That is a great line. Like yes, it is a great line. Turns out, but I had a sneaking suspicion in my mind. I was like, it seems like it was a little too easy to write. I showed Chancey one time on my phone. I was like, we were just showing each other different songs he'd written, and he just started laughing. I was like, do you recognize this from anywhere? He's like, oh yeah, that was Trent Willman's song that I showed you about 6 months ago in the pickup. And I was like, that makes sense. That's why it was so easy to write, and that's why it was so good. There's a professional songwriter wrote that song, all right, and it was not me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty funny, man. But
well, and I imagine that happens all the time with friends like that, and you guys are sharing ideas, and that's probably not the first time where you guys are like, you're like, man, I just wrote something. You're like, huh? Oh
yeah, it does happen. It definitely does happen, man. You'll get some other song kind of stuck in your head. And for me, I'll be writing one of my own, and it'll just kind of naturally gravitate towards whatever song that was, which is also, for me, when you're in the middle of writing a song, usually if it's either I get stuck early on and I'll just keep those notes on it and be able to poach from it later, which is cool, or it'll be like, I'll be in the middle of it and be like, hey man, this is the best song that's ever been written right now. That's what I'm thinking as if it's coming easy to you, and then you kind of you're too close to it to really look at it objectively. You need a little space from it, which is also, I think, I would advise anybody to have somebody that you trust to be able to send that stuff to and be like, yeah, it's kind of like exactly like a Bee Gees song that I used to listen to or something,
Right.
Like, okay, well, that's nice to know before you put it out there.
Yeah. Again, it's that criticism. You got to have guys in your corner that are like, yeah, this is what it sounds like to me, or
and can be objective about it, and it's like you have all the emotional part of it, and the artistic part of it in there, but it really is songwriting. One of the cool things about it is it's a mix, right? I mean, you have to have the art form, the artistry to have the ideas and be able to lay them out in a way that's that's different or that's unique. But then the other half of that is you have to have the skill to be able to get it done, and sometimes you don't. I mean, I've written how many songs that it's like, nah, didn't turn out. Sorry.
Sure.
It was a good learning, good exercise.
Yeah.
Good practice.
Right.
So yeah, man, when it does come together once in a while, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Well, and what you were just talking about there about the skill is kind of like the humble. You got to be humble about, I might not be able to pull this off or something like that.
For sure.
Does that come also like in the studio, in studio time? And again, you probably have to have a producer, somebody that's kind of like, hey, like, I don't know if you guys can pull this off or.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We're heading into the studio this upcoming week to cut we got asked to be on a kind of a singer-songwriter album. My brother Sam and Sam's gonna do a song, and I'm gonna do a song, and it'll be the first album that I've done without the band in the last 3. The first project, kind of we'll use session guys and stuff, which would be cool to have some new takes on stuff. You know, I'm excited to work with some different guys for a project. But yeah, it definitely in the studio that is a whole skill set of it, you know, of itself. I mean, we've done, I guess I've been a part of 6 albums now, and it is definitely, you start to realize that, I mean, we're not session guys, right? We're not just super comfortable in the studio. Mm-hmm. You're not going to probably play as good as you possibly can. It's like there's a pressure's on, you're a little uncomfortable. Like, you better know your stuff, you know, when you go in there.
Right.
And the preparation work before you go in, to me, has been really helpful, especially because you're not in the most comfortable situation that you're going to be, right? And you're holding yourself to a higher standard in there, and you're hopefully having somebody else back there behind the board, you know, who's like, yeah, you know, you did 10 takes of this song and you're not singing very good today. You know, do you want to keep doing this, or maybe we should do something else for a while? And it's like, maybe you'll be singing a little better tomorrow or something. And it's like, that's what you're after, man. You know, like somebody with the ears, and who can, you know, there's multiple jobs in putting together a record, and having that quality control and somebody back there kind of calling the shots is nice.
Yeah. Highly valid. Yeah. And like you said, it's completely different. You've got different, you know, people working it. And then, like you said, kind of a different sort of pressure versus like a live show.
For sure, man. And you know, it's a bummer to think about it this way, but it's like a budget's part of it, right? I mean, you're paying a bunch of money to be in there, right? And you're paying by the hour, by the day. And it's like, okay, well, should we do our practicing now here in the studio, or should we maybe have done that before we got here?
Yeah,
you know?
right.
You know, so yeah, man, it's been a whole learning process, and an awesome one too.
Yeah.
I love it, and it's especially as you kind of get the hang of it a little better, and it's like you learn what you need to do to be ready to go in, you know, and what, you know, how to get the best out of yourself, and how to get the best out of the people you're playing with, you know, and it's an awesome part of the process that I really love doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so you and your brother Sam are going to be doing that. So without the band this time. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And we have some session guys lined up from California. And I've heard some of their playing. Either, you know, there's some great players out there for sure. So.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, yeah, Charlie, Zach and I, my co-host, we were doing this as a hobby.
Yeah.
And we had some crappy, I wonder if they're in here. They're probably not. They're just like newer, like condenser mics that I got off Amazon.
Yep.
And we were just doing it in my house. And Charlie hits me up one day. He's like, hey, what gear are you using?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't freaking know. I was like, these mics
Whatever
off
these
Amazon.
Mics are, we're using.
I sent him a picture, and he's like, man, we need to meet up. And he's like, I think I can help you like sound better. And I was like, all right. And like we just missed this exchange here of Charlie you guys talking about the studio side and Blackbird, and it's like he's all about it, and like I have no idea anything about it, but like that's the studio side is.
Dude, it is like I just have seen it a couple times to like know enough to know like how little you know about it.
Right.
Holy cow, dude! There is like, I mean, people spend their whole life learning how to record drums. Like, that's a lifetime pursuit. Like, that's crazy, man. You know, like.
Well, a lot of it is just like there's no right. So there's rules, but there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
So you just end up being like, I'm gonna try this.
Yeah, dude.
And if it's
awesome.
off the charts and it's super crazy, then it's gonna be too much. Like, can't be doing something stupid. But
yeah, man. Within these guidelines.
Yeah.
Run wild. That's to be the opportunity to be able to do that is cool, man. I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I love being on a tracking. There's nothing like a tracking day.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. It is. I think to a lot of recording artists too. I think like, I don't know. I mean, we've been so heavily based in our live performances, you know. It's just how I grew up. But man, I mean, there is nothing quite like the feeling of being in the studio and then having you all come into the control room and be like, "Hey, all right, let's listen back, see what we all think about this." You know, the engineer's in there working his magic, and you're just like, "Dude, it's a cool
killer.
thing." Like, yeah,
like getting sounds. I mean, you're starting from nothing, so you're building.
You're starting from nothing, man. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and as the process, like that's true too, man. Like throughout the process of recording an album or something, you know, and it's like you start from nothing.
Oh yeah.
You got some scratch tracks or something, and then you get your rhythm tracks down, and it's like at first it still seems like nothing, you know, and then it seems like, oh, that was kind of cool, and then finally you look back over the past week or whatever, and you're like, dude.
Oh yeah.
Remember that first day when we had nothing here and we were listening back to just the bass by itself, you know, or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's like now you have this whole huge thing that you've built that has started from like this tiny seed of like an idea for a song a year ago or something, you know? And it's
then
like
you take
all
that
the
idea
way.
with like session musicians, and that's like a whole nother level.
Dude, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to try it.
Yeah.
I'll let you know my experience this
sure.
week.
We'll look forward to hearing it too.
Yeah, dude.
What's
I'm excited.
I don't think we've asked you this. What was your first studio experience, or you know, because you said you had some tracks down on the critiquing with, I think, Lyle. Was that your first studio experience, or like maybe your first like you were paying to be there? I guess. Maybe I'm saying that completely wrong.
My dad got into recording kind of in a fairly small way when we were pretty young, man. He did some of his records at his house in the basement, you know, his office. He kind of, you know, soundproofed the room, and you know, got a couple pretty good mics and some good preamps, and you know, we used to record on an old Roland analog machine. 2480 was the second one he got. I forget what the first one was, but they sound good. The preamps are super warm in there, and they sound good, but they're super hard. They're unfriendly to work on anything on. So,
Gotcha.
You know, the monitor is about the size of a flip phone screen, you know, and they're real slow. The processing is slow and stuff. So for tracking acoustic stuff, you know, it worked good. But once you started getting, you know, adding things in, or like no way drums or anything like that, you know. But my first experience recording was we had a cabin up Tongue River Canyon that belonged to a friend of ours in high school, and we'd go up there and have band practice, and we set all my dad's recording stuff up, you know, and we had these old, you know, what were they? They weren't. I forget, these old stage mics from the 50s, you know, cables were fraying and stuff, you know, and they're gaff taped together, and stands are all zip tied up and stuff, you know, and we recorded just kind of screwing around, and I don't know how old we were, maybe like freshman in high school, I think. And Ian did me the favor a few years ago of digging up some of those recordings.
Oh, wow.
And so he has a pretty good arsenal against me if he ever needs to blackmail me for anything. It is hilarious, man.
Oh man.
Maybe off air you guys can hear him, but definitely not on air. But so that was, I mean, you know, that was my first experience recording. We were just having fun, loving every minute of it, you know. Nothing we played was really any good. We had a couple of our own original songs which weren't any good, you know. And it was a good time, man. That's what it's about, really, you know. But so, and then we kind of recorded some with my dad, you know, growing up. We've always played together as a family too. We'll do a handful of shows a year. And we, you know, there's nothing quite like that either, right? I mean, man, you get to play music with your family and make something with your family. Like, we're pretty fortunate to be able to do that, you know. But we've kind of grown up recording and learned what not to do a whole bunch of times, you know? So I'd like to think that, you know, this last record we did, we went down to Sonic Ranch Studios outside of El Paso and lived down there for a while and cut the record. And it was awesome, man. It was a great experience. The rooms were great. The people there were awesome, with the band. And I'd like to think, you know, we're super proud of how the record came out. It's called Washakie Wind. And I'd like to think that, you know, that's kind of a culmination of all the experiences you've had, all the, you know, times you've sucked in the past and all that stuff, right? To get to that point, and hopefully moving forward will just be better, you know?
Right. That was good.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I do want to ask you this, because I don't think I've asked you this yet. What's kind of your favorite live events to do? Because you guys do, I mean, you and I were talking, you did the fundraiser for the oil field Helping Hands in Casper. You obviously play in like, you know, bar venues and all that stuff. But like, do you guys book weddings? Like what is your, if someone reaches out to you guys, like what's one of your kind of like, oh yeah, we're doing that?
Yeah.
Or is it all of it?
Well, this year, the last year or two has been obviously a little different,
Yeah.
but, what we used to do more weddings and more kind of smaller private stuff. And we like doing them and we have fun doing them, and we're always open. We encourage people to, you know, of course, reach out to us. That said, just the summer times get so busy, that we kind of it's a little harder for us to do, kind of private stuff in the summertime,
Sure.
you know? So, you know, we do a lot of like fairs and rodeos and stuff. We're trying to kind of, you know, we've grown up around enough musicians and, enough of them who have fallen into the kind of the trap of life on the road and that lifestyle, that we try to kind of stay out of the bars. Well, at least limit our shows in the bars, you know,
Sure.
And it's like, we used to do it. That's pretty much all we used to do, you know, and anymore we've kind of tried to, you know, push our original stuff and go for more of a concert kind of setting, which has been good, man. I feel like, you know, it was really helpful for us all our days playing in the bars, and we'll still do some too, you know, but,
Right.
Man, you're up there playing for 4 or 5 hours and you're home at 3 a.m, and, you know, it's kind of tough duty playing your best and giving people, you know, your top level, you know, what they came paid to see you do for that long, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I really like it when we can kind of condense that down and really just give people, you know, a hell of a show and give people our best for an hour and a half or 2 hours or 2.5 hours, you know, something like that. Like, and just let's get up there, do our job and get off and, like, you know, have that be it. Mm-hmm. That said, I do think, man, grinding it out in the bars and learn that you do learn, right? I mean, we have 70 songs that we're going to have to play tonight or whatever, man. It's like, that is a lot of song. That is a lot of music, right? And keeping your energy up when you're tired and all that stuff is, you know, I mean, we're ranch kids, so it's like, that's how we grew up, is to like, well, if you have to work harder, then you have to work harder, I guess, you know? Like,
right.
We have a pretty sweet job, so we could be building fence right now, right?
Yep.
So, I'm not complaining in any means, but I do think that moving forward, you know, those concerts and stuff are going to be more of our focus.
Yeah. Well, and there's always that process throughout a career, you know, and like you said, with members of the band, you know, things change and you got to adapt and overcome those kinds of things, you know, in what you guys want to do. No, that was great. I think unless Charlie has anything else to add, I want to just Charlie, have anything there?
Oh, no, I think we're good.
Okay.
Have fun tracking in San Diego.
Yeah,
Enjoy
man.
the warm weather.
We will.
You picked a perfect time.
Oh, I know. Seriously. What is it, 10 below out there right now?
Yeah.
I think it was 9 below when I got here.
Crazy.
I'll be thinking about you guys when I'm hitting the surfboard up.
You have to send those pictures like, hey guys, yeah.
Here's me in my Speedo.
But yeah, you've got some cool things happening. You guys are, did you release it today or is that tomorrow? Or the video's out of the new single?
Just today. When is this going to be aired?
This will be Thursday.
So yeah, we're talking on Tuesday. So by the time folks hear this, we have a brand new music video for a song of ours called Sand and Sage. And that was it was an album cut off our last record. And we wanted to kind of save this one. This will be the last one we push off the last record before we start moving on to new stuff.
Awesome.
So we shot this video at a friend of ours, Scott Gall's barn in Buffalo, and then down on the Graves Ranch outside of Barnum, Wyoming. Okay. So, the song's about kind of big country, wide open spaces, and the lifestyle that we all love, and grew up in, and it's kind of a rock, I would say, like a rock version of a cowboy song.
Sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, we're pumped about it, man. And the video is airing right now, and we hope you guys check it out.
Yeah. Where can people find, your YouTube channel, Instagram, or reach out to you guys to book events?
Yeah. So for booking, trismunsick.com is you can contact us through there. It's probably the best way. And then, check us out on Instagram, Tris Munsick and the Innocents on Instagram or Facebook. Google us. All our stuff's on Spotify and wherever you can find music online. So yeah, YouTube. Definitely check us out and come out to a show sometime. We're all ready for that to start happening again.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Tris, thanks for coming in. I will want to give you the offer, too, that if you ever want to play a live stream, like I know COVID changed a lot of stuff for musicians. So Carter here with DYT, they can do live streams.
Nice, man.
We'd love to have you in here. Charlie, he'd make sure we all sound good. So if you ever want to do a live stream, you're more than welcome to be here. But thanks for...
Let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming by. And then here's that. What's the song called again? We'll end it out.
Sand and Sage.
Sand and Sage.
You say the range is won and lost. Sun are looking at a brand new day. Horses are tame and the outlaws are gone. The sun is setting on the cowboy way. Buddy, I hear you talking, but you're wrong. There's still a few out there who hear the lonesome coyote song. They are the children of the sand and the sagebrush, caught somewhere between the wind and the wire. Out in the middle of the sand and the sagebrush, living and dying is who they are. Born to ride this land, children of the sand and the sage. I think Geronimo said it best: while I'm living, I wanna live well and bury my bones facing towards the west, so people know I got a tale to tell before you carve the words upon my stone. Here's what I'd like to say the days after I'm gone. We are the children of the sand and the sagebrush, caught somewhere between the wind and the wire. Out in the middle of the sand and the sagebrush, living and dying is who we are. Born to ride this land, children of the sand and the sage. children of the sand and the sagebrush, caught somewhere between the wind and the wire. Out in the middle of the sand and the sagebrush, living and dying, it's who